Thanks, Evelyn, for coming today. I'm Rachel Jones, and I'm from NXTWomen. We've created some products that are specific for improving cognitive health, brain health, mood, and I'm really excited to talk to you today. I want you to introduce me to your story a little bit, and as open as you can be or want to be about what brought you to Revive and NXTWomen, and kind of tell us the backstory behind that.
Sure. So I realized maybe just in the last 5 years that I've probably suffered with attention deficit disorder really my whole life. I wasn't ever diagnosed, which is actually really common for women because we tend to do better in kind of the educational system the way it's set up now.
Right. How do you think that women are different or display attention deficit differently than men?
I think that typically for men, it comes along with the ADHD, so that kind of hyper part of it, where girls maybe don't have that as much. And so actually where I really learned is that my son actually was diagnosed with ADHD really about 4 or 5 years old. And I really struggled with putting him on medication and kind of all the things that go along with that. I think, there's probably a longer conversation that can be had about our educational system and whether or not it supports boys. But I do think that, obviously he absolutely fits kind of the criteria of someone with ADHD.
Do you think it's difficult for females, especially female adolescents, to find that the help that they need, a specific diagnosis, because they do present differently?
Absolutely. I mean, looking back on, I always got really good grades. I always, I didn't have the problem where I couldn't sit in class, but looking back at the symptoms of actually what comes along with ADD, I realized that I really did struggle with that, and I have struggled with it for a lot of years.
What were some of your frustrations on a daily basis? Like, where would you find yourself kind of becoming frustrated at daily tasks?
Sure. I mean, for me, it's really just focus. It's even being able to focus for, 5 or 10 minutes on one task, especially those tasks that, because people with ADD, if they're interested in what they're doing, they have all of the attention span in the world. But if they're not interested in what they're doing, or if it's kind of a tedious task, then they don't, it's very difficult to really like buckle down, sit down and get it done. I mean, it really is like squirrel, like what, like it just, you cannot sit down and get a task done.
So is it difficulty with like reading or reading comprehension or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so for me, my job, I'm a lobbyist. And so I have to read a lot of legislation, which is a lot of legalese. And, some of these bills can be 20, 30 pages long. And so really just being able to sit down, have the focus to be able to kind of really also comprehend what you're reading, but then also be able to have to sometimes it's like, I'm changing this part of the code, so I got to go back to this code to read this. And so, I mean, it's almost impossible if you're not taking care of your diagnosis to even be able to perform that. But in my job, I absolutely have to be able to understand what bills do and kind of, how they affect whoever I'm advocating for. And so that's really the hardest thing.
So tell us what a bad day would be for you. If you had to, describe in detail what it felt to be really frustrated with being able to do your job or being able to do it inadequately. What
I mean, like? Quite frankly, it is hard because you feel like you aren't capable. You feel like you're not smart, which is hard for me because, coming from someone who, I got really good grades as a child, but I just always kind of felt like I'm not smart enough to be able to read these because I don't understand it, or I can't take the time to really, sit down and comprehend it. And so,
that's a really interesting point, Evelyn, is I think we see females feeling less intelligent when in actuality their IQs would not demonstrate that, but because of attention issues or issues with paying attention or details, they will, self-label themselves as less intelligent than boys.
Right.
So I think that's a really important point that you bring up. So you felt that when you were struggling to pay attention just in a daily task.
Yeah. And I think that, for me, because I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, I mean, I didn't have to sit down and do really tedious tasks that I didn't want to do. I mean, there was house cleaning, but that could always wait to the next day, or helping kids with homework. And that was, so it wasn't really until I really entered the workforce and kind of entered kind of the political sphere that I found out that, wow, I really am suffering from this, and it is hard. And I look back over some of the, things I do. And if it was one of those things that took very meticulous kind of focus, I would just quit. I'd be about 10 seconds in and be like, nah, never mind. This is too hard. I'm not going to even try to do this. And there's a lot of jobs, unfortunately, and probably every career, right, that you have to sit down, you have to buckle down, you have to really have that kind of very detailed focus and make sure you're understanding, comprehending what you're reading or what you're working on. And so yes.
That's a really interesting angle you take, because as women, we need to advocate for ourselves and other women, but seeing women labeled as like inadequate or unable to complete tasks, there could be a biochemical background to that, rather than just a laziness or a lack of IQ.
Yeah, and I would absolutely encourage people to look into that, because it is frustrating, and you do feel like you're not capable and you're not smart enough, and that's not the truth.
So when did you find, or when did you look for a solution, I guess?
Again, like I said, for me, it was really helping my son through kind of what he was going through, and then reading a lot about the symptoms and looking at kind of how he was dealing with the world, and how he, and it was very, very different from mine, because where I got great grades and I didn't have a problem with sitting still. But when I read a lot, there are a lot of things like impulse control. Looking back, as a kid, I had struggled with that. Being able to focus was a big struggle. Feeling like you're not smart enough because you can't sit and take the time to comprehend things. So also some of that is there is a real big social component to ADD. A lot of times you don't do well in social kind of environments. So all kind of really looking through these symptoms and going, wow, these really apply to me as well. As I'm helping my son kind of navigate this and kind of figure out what to do to help to treat him. He's now 15. He was 5 at the time. So, we've kind of been going through this for almost a decade now. But
so by seeing his behaviors being problematic at school and in social situations, you recognized in yourself that you may share some of those traits with him.
Yes, it was pretty. I was very kind of shocked and surprised by it, because again, like I said, I got good grades and I didn't have behavioral problems like he was kind of struggling with. But there's a lot more to ADD than I think a lot of people really understand.
And the social component is fascinating, because we may see misbehavior, and specifically we're talking about women and girls, that could lead to some consequences for girls that are long lasting, like lifetime.
Sure, absolutely. I look back as myself as a teenager, and there were a lot of decisions I made that's like, wow, like had I probably realized that this is what I was suffering from, there was a lot of impulse control problems that, because my son he's now 15 and been really taking care of his ADHD, we don't see that those same problems with him, and I think that's a big indicator.
Important.
Yes, and I can also tell you, I see teenagers a lot of times. What happens is that they end up self-medicating when they've never been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, and what they end up doing is they self-medicate with other drugs. My niece, for instance, she, from a young age, they never really understood kind of where the behavior was coming from, and really didn't diagnose her. And she became addicted to drugs when she was a teenager. And
that could be a real cause for girls getting into drugs and the drug culture, even though we don't even look at it as an attention issue.
Right. And I asked her, because for me, it was like just so out of the realm of my possibility of, illegal drugs was just never anything I would even have thought to do. And I asked her how she felt on them and why she had this, kind of draw to it. And she said, I actually feel normal when I'm on them.
Wow.
And that, I think that's really telling. That is really telling. And so I do
telling.
think that you have to look at this, and, for teenagers who are kind of drawn to that and and experiment with that and then really like how they feel on it, that it very possibly may be kind of compensating for something else.
So how would you advocate for adolescent girls who are exhibiting risky behaviors? Would you look at attention issues as maybe a core piece to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that is something that's really overlooked, like I said, for girls especially.
So if I have a girl who may be exhibiting some of these symptoms and signs, what would you recommend?
I would definitely make an appointment with a doctor, and I think a lot of times we look at kind of mental health as this nebulous. We're not really sure where do we even start, but I think this is biochemistry in a lot of ways, and so I think you have to look at all facets. Whether it be food allergies, right? That could be part of it. Also could be biochemistry, also could be mental. And I think you have to just kind of make sure you're running the gamut and kind of being able to help understand.
So just investigating all of the potential sources or causes for those attention issues in females.
Yeah.
So how did you come across Revive as a solution?
So, I had a friend who works for this amazing company, and he mentioned to me that they had developed this product, and he said, we're having a lot of success with people who have ADD. And he said, you should just at least give it a try, just see what happens to you. And he said, I don't recommend you getting off of your medication, right? I mean, this necessarily maybe isn't like a replacement for that, but just see how you feel. Just give it a try and see how you're feeling, and let me know. Let me know what your results are like.
So it's a safe, natural alternative.
Yes.
The ingredients are FDA approved, and they've been tested widely, and lots of research has been done at the University of Utah and Harvard. So you felt comfortable and confident adding this into your daily regime?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I discovered when I started taking this is that, the problem that you have with a lot of the ADD medications is it's kind of a big high and then a big crash. Mm-hmm. And so by about 3 o'clock, you're exhausted. You can't do anything else. You were very productive for those, first probably like 6 hours that you take the medication. But then after that, you're just absolutely wiped. You're exhausted. It's very hard to kind of continue the rest of your day, and you're kind of just done.
So there's sometimes a price to pay.
Yeah, I think so.
For that focus and attention.
For sure. And also, you have kind of a mood shift that happens with that, where you kind of just are really tired. So you're just kind of out of it, and you're just kind of exhausted. You don't really want to engage and be, present, I think, in your life. And so
you can really lose aspects of your personality.
Absolutely. Yes. 100% you can.
That's a tough diagnosis.
It is tough.
A tough treatment. Do you feel like the treatment at this point in time is incomplete pharmaceutically?
I would absolutely think it is. Yes. I don't think, the medications that are out there, some are better than others. But I don't know that they've solved that completely. I wouldn't say. There are trade-offs for sure.
What did you feel when you started taking Revive?
So for me, what I found is that I didn't have that crash. It was amazing. By 3 o'clock, I still felt great. I still felt like I had a lot of energy. I was still really productive at work. I could go home and I could still be very present and very active in my family's lives.
Did it impede sleep or?
No, I really didn't have any problem. No, I have had no problem with sleep. Even, for the first week or two, they say you could take a double dose of it to just kind of load up on it. And I've never, ever had problems, even with the double doses, with sleeping. But what I found was just that I never had that really bad 3 o'clock crash. And that for me was like, wow, I've now got 2 more hours of productivity. And plus I get to go home and be active in my family's lives, go to the gym and get that out of the way, and be more present. And I think was the best part of it for me.
That's a powerful add-on. I like that you state that you're not replacing anything, but you're improving upon the results, and it's improving your focus. It's improving how you feel. It's just, it's not taking away from your personality. It's not a, detriment to your sleep. Do you think this is something that would be important for adolescent girls who may be?
I really do. I think this is a thing that, I absolutely, I think that this could be one of those things, again, like I said, I think we're missing that diagnosis in a lot of adolescents. And so, I think it could. I really think it could help them a lot. Like I said, where I look back for my niece and, as an adult now, she's very functioning and she's not on drugs anymore. But I look back at those teenage years and think, wow, this could have really helped her to not kind of run into all of the problems that she had. Yeah.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
A lot of physicians say that attention deficit peaks again midlife. So women who are like in their 50s, 60s end up going on, Adderall, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
so
I was 37, when I started taking it.
So this could be a solution for, premenopausal, postmenopausal women, safe and effective.
Yeah. I think anytime you can take something that's more natural, it's better for your body. It's better for everything. And if that's, if it works for you, then amazing. That's great.
Is it something that you feel like you could take for an extended period of time?
Yeah. I just really I never had any negative side effects. So absolutely. For me, it was just it's been kind of just an extra great supplement that I've had that's like, okay, this is helping me to have more energy. And and as we get older, right? I think your energy is waning already on its own. Yeah. And so this is one of those things I think really kind of just bolsters that.
What about for your family? Do you think it would work for other family members besides yourself?
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where even for my son, as he's getting a little bit older, he's noticing the side effects of being on the medication. And I think he understands that, that in the educational system that we have, that he kind of has to be on these things to succeed the way that it's set up. Like I said, we could go into a long conversation about the educational system and how it treats boys, but I think he understands because he's older now that that being on the medication helps him be successful in that environment. But as he's getting a little bit older too, he is also noticing that the side effects are maybe things that he doesn't like. He has this very gregarious personality, super charming, very funny, but when he's on the medication, sometimes it kind of flattens his personality. And so for him, it does. And so I think for him, this is something that he could maybe take and it would increase his focus, but not have the negative side effects.
It's interesting. I have 5 kids and all of them are like really do fit the criteria for ADHD. Some of them have been formally diagnosed, but they prefer a natural approach, whether it's meditation or just really, using foods and nutrition. Revive has been really amazing for my high school junior. And he takes it with the entire stack from Next Set. But that's his comment is that really makes a difference for him at school. Mood, focus, attention. So I kind of think there are a lot of adolescents and millennials out there who want to look at a more natural approach to dealing with attention, including things like meditation and yoga and exercise.
Yeah. I think it's a great point because like I said, I think as kids get older, who have maybe suffered from this like I said, my son was diagnosed about 4 or 5 years old. Now because he's more self-aware and he's older and he understands that he has this amazing, great personality, which makes lots of friends at school and that kind of thing. But then when he's on the medication, it doesn't. That kind of goes away, and that's bothering him now. It didn't so much in the past, but now it's kind of like, no, I want to. This is who I am, and it's great. And so I think these kind of natural remedies, I think, are amazing for that.
Oh, thank you. In closing, what advice would you give to somebody who's really suffering from paying attention or feels like they could be, suffering from attention deficit? What piece of advice would you give them in general?
Well, I would definitely say try Revive. See if that helps because, like I said, I've just seen great results from it. I think there are a lot of products out there that promise that you're going to have, I think, increased focus or increased energy, right. But also it always comes with some sort of negative side effect. It always does. Whether it's kind of that jittery feeling or whatever else. And so I think that this is a product where you really get all of the focus, you get the energy, but you don't have the negative side effects.
Wow, I really appreciate you coming in today, Evelyn, and your story is powerful. Especially we're talking about women and adolescent women and middle-aged women. I appreciate you really sharing your story of how somebody in their mid-30s can really benefit from looking at, attention as an issue
Right.
in their place of employment.
Yeah. I mean, I think, for everyone as we get older, right, I think this is all, energy and focus is probably always is a challenge. So I think if you're looking for a product that helps increase both those, I think you would be very well, benefited by trying Revive.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your story and appreciate you opening up about your situation, your family, and the solutions that you found work for you. So thanks so much.
Thank you.